Okay, this is the second video looking at Salerno from Grognard Simulations. This is the full game with everything. I haven't got the artillery module, which I probably won't put in straight away. I'll have a look at that. I had a bit of a rant about setup, and I still stand by all of that. And also, setting up your reinforcements is a little bit similar. It's not as painful as an experience, but it's still not a straightforward one. So what I've got is all these areas. When you see these black blocks, these are like entry hexes, and the units stacked up around them are units ready to come on. The Allies have a similar thing. They have beaches, so you can land between these black blocks here. Now, the beaches aren't very clearly defined on the actual scenario sheet. Now, and also remember that you'll have the big scenario sheets for this module and the first two modules. Well, this module here of the landing zones, but there are separate different types of reinforcement sheets when you're covering stuff going over into the far distance there. Which is a bit of a shame. It makes it a bit disjointed because you've got two types of actual setup sheets. Now, let's see what else we've got here. Yeah, so what I've done is I've taken these map extensions which didn't fit over there where they're supposed to belong, and I've just set up the two maps where the German unit reinforcements are coming in, so they'll come from those maps and then they'll arrive at the appropriate roads way over here. Okay, I've got American beach landing stuff here. Now if you look at it, it looks like the Germans got, wow, look at all them German reinforcements coming, that's going to be a nightmare, but it don't quite work like that. The Germans are only allowed to bring on 2 companies per turn via any of these setup hexes or start hexes. Now, the Allies with beaches, we're allowed to land up to a battalion per turn. So that's a lot of reinforcements coming in. The Germans have got a lot of entry hexes. They've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in total. Is that 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6 in total. So that would be the equivalent of 6 companies turning up. No, it would be the equivalent of 12 companies coming in every turn. So they're getting a fair amount of stuff. That's probably not far off a battalion, but the Allies are definitely going to get more stuff for sure than the Germans can bring in via their road network. So the actual battle itself, it's a very interesting one historically, this, because it's the one of the only battles in the sort of mid-late war where the Germans could actually have won here. There's definitely a point in time where particularly the Americans panicked at one point and they had to sort of issue guns to everybody, typists, clerks, medical staff, cooks, to try and stem the tide. And I think they even deployed part of their strategic reserve, which is the 82nd Airborne, into the American beachhead. In fact, they definitely did that. I remember that. It was pretty much naval gunfire that stopped Salerno from being a disaster, in my opinion, that is, because it did tend to break up the German attacks, smash their armoured formations to pieces. So that's worth bearing in mind. That the naval charts are over here. This is where all the ships available, gunfire that can be used supporting various divisions. We've got the air unit tracks over here. I've actually started the game here, so we've signed the number of close air supports we've got in total for the day. So yeah, for the day, but these limits here, so the Germans can use 3 of these units every turn, but they can only use, and each one of those counts like that would be a 2. So we use that one, you drop your CAS down from 20 to 18. Okay, so just remember these number of units is the maximum you can use in a day, sorry, in a turn, and these are your maximum for the day. Also, you can only use 1 aircraft to support 1 defence or attack. We can also use air forces to do interdiction as well. There's a few extra rules on that. I'm probably going into too much detail. Anyway, up here we have the turn chart. Now, this is the one that's supposed to be for all of it, but it doesn't note here. It says only German and American reinforcements arrive on the first day. That's not true. There are British units arriving on the first day. You're probably better off looking at the actual scenario sheets themselves. I'll just give you a quick look at the scenario sheets. Whoa, excuse me, moving around everywhere. This is what I mean about the fact they're not standard. In the south, we've got sheets like this, which are really difficult to use, as I've already explained. But for other parts of the game, we've got these big scenario sheets. So you're better off. If you look here, 10th of September, there's a load of British reinforcements, but they're not on the day track, but they should be. Anyway, so let me take a quick pause. Now what I'm going to start doing is putting blocks on the map, so I know where the HQs are, because a lot of times the HQs have got flat batteries on top of them, so they're not immediately obvious where they are. The red ones represent your divisions, and your blue ones represent your regiments, and the green ones, which I haven't got any on at the moment, represent your battalions. I'm going to be using the same colour scheme for both Germans and Allies. Now, if we look at the initial landings, the Americans have got a division over there. The British have got 2 divisions, the 56th and the 43rd. And the Germans at this particular moment have got the Hermann Goering division over there, and elements of the 15th Panzer Grenadiers arriving here, and we've got 16th Panzer over there, and right in the distance is the Corps HQ. Allies have got Corps HQs as well. I should probably mark them with a white cube so I know where they are. So it's all really on how this game plays. Now, I've got to admit, when I set up, I was getting a bit frustrated with the setup, so I've not really set up in an optimum way. So I'm going to probably, well, I will on the first turn, revisit some of the setup just to make sure units are in command and supply to the best of my ability, while maintaining at least some sort of front against the Allies. So there we are. It's definitely a monster, this is, but I think it's a playable monster. It's got a lot of units on the board, but not a ridiculous amount. when you compare it to other big games. I would say for the size of the map, the unit density isn't going to be that high. Your stacking is limited to 2 companies equivalent per hex. So the worst case scenario, you might have 6 platoons stacked together. So you're not, obviously you're going to have some sort of status markers on top of that, but you're not going to get gigantic stacks, unmanageable stacks. Okay, there we go. Let's see if the Germans can actually do what they didn't do historically and drive the Allies into the sea. The first objectives, if we're looking at the American point of view, is we really do need to connect the British and American beachheads. There's this huge gap leading all the way to the sea where there's nothing there. So that's got to be the first objective for the Americans and the British. Probably what we'll do with the British units arriving here is, I think we're fairly secure along our front here, so we'll actually spread these over so that these maps here, that town connects to that town there, connects to this one here. It's a bit unfortunate, but it's the only way I can fit this on the table. Okay, as a matter of interest for people, the table is 10 feet by 4 feet, and notice that there is an overhang of about 4 inches on either side of the table as well to fit it on. Even if I was going to put the full setup, I would have needed a 5-foot table, 5'10" by 5 to do it properly, and get these other sheets which are sort of hanging on their own onto the far side of the map. Okay, let's get ready to rumble.